Hello and welcome back to My Career So Far with Kira and Josh. Thank you so much for the support over the last couple of episodes. It's been amazing. This week, Kira.
Hello. I'm quite emotional at the moment because we've just come off a call with Jo Russell. And if you don't know who she was a legend of the East Midlands and still is. And
She's a gem.
She's a gem.
Clown.
And she has a part of my childhood, or she was a part of my childhood when she broadcast in the West Midlands. So it all got a bit emotional at the end. And you'll hear why. And yeah, this is the rawest we've ever done.
It's a very emotional time for Kira. But if you are enjoying the podcast, make sure you can subscribe and follow us on Instagram at MikesLive_shock. But in the meantime, this is My Career So Far with Jo Russell.
My Career So Far.
Jo Russell, hello.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good.
Very good. Very excited.
Good. Well, I'm excited to be here.
I don't know what it is, but I think since we started this whole podcast journey, your name came up in my head quite quickly.
Okay. I don't know if that's good or bad. I never quite know.
It's a good thing. And you'll
Okay,
see
good.
why it's a good thing.
Okay, good. Then I'm even more excited to be here.
So, how did you first become interested in radio?
It's hard to pinpoint a moment, but when I was growing up, when I was a teen, that's all there was. Radio, right? So it's, I'm that old that, we had 3 channels on the TV and then 4 channels was exciting. And we did not have social media. We did not have TikTok. We did not have YouTube, none of that. So we had radio. So I just loved it so much. I listened to shows where there were more than one person on. So that, a real good old friendship and banter and all of that stuff. And shows that made you feel part of it. And I felt part of it. And I was one of those people that used to try and take part in it as a listener. And I just got the bug. I think it is a bug when you want to do radio. I think you just decide, when you've decided you want to do it, it's just like it eats away at you and you want to do it. And I was like that from early teens, like 13. I would say at school, I'm going to be a DJ. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a presenter. And yeah, it took me ages to do it, but I did it. So yeah, I'm thrilled. It was good for me that I knew what I wanted to do. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. And I just refused to give up. I wanted to do it. It was the most fun. I knew it was going to be, and it has been.
I think that is a feeling that all people who want to work in radio get. Because when I was 8, I went, oh yeah, I want to be a radio presenter. Did you have the same thing, Josh?
I think mine was more TV, and then something just happened. I can't pinpoint it like you said, but something happened, and I think yeah.
It's really weird. It's sort of it came out of nowhere as well. It's like, oh, that would sound really cool. I probably should go into that.
And it is cool. It's a lot harder work than I think people realise, but because it's so much fun, that doesn't matter, if that makes sense. I think people, God, man, my boyfriend every now and again, when we're having a row, will go, well, you just sit and talk. And you just go, well, stop now. I mean, I won't do the swearing that we do. But yeah, it's just not as easy as people think. But because it's fun, like I say, it just doesn't matter. The long hours and all of that stuff that you put into it, especially when you're trying to get into it and you're proving yourself and all of that. Oh my God, it's so much fun.
It's been a bit eye-opening because I'd been... Are you the same here? I don't know. I can't remember what you said you did before you did Shock.
I didn't really do.
You didn't really do anything, but we were both very geeky. And then when you actually start doing a radio show, you realise, oh, it's actually a lot more work than you think.
Yeah, it really is. And I've been doing it for, 30 years or whatever it is now. God, I don't know. And so coming up with original content and different things to think about every day for 30 years is not easy. And especially because I've mainly done breakfast shows. So your hours are ridiculous. Like you're you're getting up at stupid times, and so your tiredness kicks in a lot. And then they'll go, right, look, I know it's January, but what are you doing for Mother's Day? And you just go, why are you asking me? This is my 30th Mother's Day on air. And like, do you really want me to come up with an original idea? And of course they do. But yeah, it's just harder. But, you know, if you get the right people around you as well, it just makes your day ace.
A lot of coffee, I presume. A lot of caffeine is going into it.
Well, I used to, back in the day, Josh, I would live on black coffee and Red Bull during the show. This was when I was single, so I was going out all the time as well as doing a breakfast show. So that would be, you know, my diet would be Red Bull and coffee. Now, believe it or not, I try to be caffeine free, so I am decaf. Even when I'm getting up at 4 a.m., I go decaf as much as I possibly can. But no, back in the day, the wild days of Red Bull and coffee, they were my wild days.
I mean, I think I drink a lot of Monster, like an unhealthy amount of Monster energy drinks at the moment.
I just don't drink any caffeine, which I think is quite impressive as a student.
It's impressive just for anybody of your age, I think, because I feel like I did not care till I was, you know, early 40s, what the hell I was eating and drinking. And then when you start aching, I mean, I don't want to sound too old, but when you start aching, guys, you go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that to my body. So you got many years ahead of you yet.
It's good to know.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Oh God, do you know what? I'd discuss how old we actually are, but I feel like we should save that for later.
That can be an off-air discussion.
An off-air discussion. So you went and did hospital radio to start with, didn't you?
Yeah, I did in York. I grew up in York and did hospital radio there, which was essentially, it was such a good way of working out what type of presenter that I wanted to be. Because I think when I first started, I was almost trying to mimic other people, and that's not a good idea at all, because it's absolutely not natural. And I think doing something like hospital radio or uni radio, whatever it is, however you get into it, you just have the flexibility to work out what type of presenter you want to be, and so you can hone your craft there, where you've not got a boss telling you off too much. So yeah, I started there.
It's definitely nice to have that freedom in like the early stages of your career. You can just like choose what you want to do and like see what works, what doesn't, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah, because it's catch-22. Like, a professional radio station doesn't want you without experience, but how do you get experience? So, yeah, it's a bit catch-22, but that's where I got it. I was at hospital radio for years. That was proper fun as well. I mean, you know, as much as going out of hospital every night can be, it's obviously a bit heartbreaking at times, but and also the hospital radio thing is that you are playing requests for people who are in hospital. So, God, the mix of music, because you could be on talking to a 70-year-old, and then suddenly you've got a 13-year-old who wants a song. So, yeah, a weird old mix, but yeah, it taught me how to run a radio desk. It taught me what type of presenter I wanted to be, and it was good grounding for me.
So after that, you got your first professional job in Harrogate on Stray.
Which no longer exists. A lot of things you're going to say now no longer exist, such as radio. Yeah, I was in Harrogate. I used to do Sunday mornings in Harrogate. They'd just pay me my petrol money, and I would go and do a show there. But again, it's all good stuff. That was my first professional job. Well, I mean, I say job. They did not pay me. But yeah, it was my first professional radio show. Yeah.
Was petrol still expensive as it is now back then, do you reckon?
Oh God, Josh, if I could talk to you about, I remember a time when
Back
my
in my
mum
day.
said, honestly, I remember Mum saying to me years ago, oh, people are overreacting. It won't go past 90p. And like, look at it now. I mean, I'm diesel now. I think it's 150 the other day. Yeah. And it was not as expensive, for sure.
I'm glad I don't drive, honestly. I need to learn how to drive, but I'm just glad I don't, I think.
I also
It's
don't
so
drive.
good for freedom, though, guys. It's so good for freedom, but the minute you buy a car, it's just eating your money. So yeah.
I tend to learn. It's
Yeah,
just,
do learn. It's really good.
it's the money though. It's ridiculous. I mean, I have friends that can drive, but I
Keep
want
them.
Yeah, I probably should.
Passenger princess.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, I need to get round to it, I think.
Yeah, do. It's just pricey, you know. I mean, it even costs to learn. I mean, how much is it an hour now?
I think
20
it's
odd
like,
quid?
oh no, it's more than that.
I'm going to say
It's
30.
nearly
Is
£40 an hour.
it 40 now? I thought it was 30.
Oh no, it's like my boyfriend's currently learning and he's paying like £37 an hour.
How do you afford that? Oh my God, we've gone down a right rabbit hole here.
I know. I think he had to dip into his savings because it's just ridiculous.
And if you get a job in radio, you will need to be able to drive to the
Yeah.
radio station.
That is a fair point. Probably should remember
Yeah.
that. Keep that in mind. So
Mhm.
after that, you went to Minster.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I used to do overnights at Minster FM in York for a while. But none of these were, I didn't have a contract at any of these. These were just, can you do this? And off you go and do it. So I had a full-time job as well, because you just never knew. Even in those days, I was cautious, like, oh, well, there's no contract, so I'll just keep working and doing other stuff at the same time, just in case. The old backup plan had kicked in. And yeah, so the first actual contract that I got was on a breakfast show at Ram FM, which was in Derby.
And that's where you met Twiggy, wasn't it?
It is where I met Twiggy. Yeah, he was events manager at the time. So they used to do a breakfast show with Ian Sky, and Twiggy was doing events. And so he would do bits into our breakfast show. And yeah, we got on like a house on fire. It was proper funny. So when Ian left, it felt right to ask Twiggy to jump in. And yeah, we were together as a duo for 13 years, 14 years, something like that.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. We did Derby for 3 years, and then we went to Trent FM in Nottingham. We were there for 10 years in the good old days, where there was money around, marketing around, lots of staff. And yeah, we had a ball. We had a really good time.
I think I was waiting for Trent to come up because I think that's what the first time that my parents sort of acknowledged how big radio was. The sort of you and Twiggy and all the promotion that you had and all the money that you had behind yourselves.
It was a different ball game. Like Twiggy and I were number one for many, many years in a competitive market. We were up against Chris Moyles and Terry Wogan and people like that on Radio 2. So it was a real competitive market for us. And we were number one for a long, long time. I think there was only maybe one rating sweep where we weren't number one. But it was not just us. It really was a whole team of people and budget and marketing and the competition that there is now in terms of YouTube and TikTok and listening to your own music, making your own playlists and all of that stuff. We did not have. I'm not trying to downplay. We were brilliant, but we didn't have all that competition. So it's very hard to look at like for like. You know, local. We also were uber local. So we just broadcast to Nottingham when we were at Trent FM. Whereas what I do now is regional. So we're Nottingham, Leicester, Derby, and the difference is huge because when we were just a Nottingham radio station, you can talk about your rivals in the way that Nottingham people talk about their rivals. But we can't do that because we are talking to Derby as well as Nottingham. So we can be East Midlands local and love them all, which we do. But Twiggy and I could really hone down to be the voice of Nottingham and to talk like they spoke and to be one of them. And it is a different ball game when you can do that.
I mean, we've had this on the podcast before. Lots of guests have said how important it is for local radio because when you're doing like the travel news, for instance, you can talk about certain landmarks that will resonate with the audience and certain things that will resonate with that audience. And that's really what's so special about it, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's just not, it's nice for them to know that you know where they are and what they're doing, etc. So it is nice to be uber local. It's one of those things that sets you apart from the nationals. But having said that, the nationals get great figures. So some people want it, some people don't care. I think if you are playing the right music and you are entertaining, they will listen to you. If you can be local to them too, and shout out where they're from and what they're doing, that's a real added bonus and a cherry on top. There is a real place for it. Whether it's essential nowadays, I'm not 100% certain, but there is a place for it if you can do it properly.
Going back to those days with Trent, you were sort of local celebrities in a way, which you wouldn't get now.
No, it definitely feels different now because we didn't have YouTube, so there weren't YouTube celebrities and TikTok and all those social media people where really anybody can do that and be it and get a lucky break. Work hard enough. I would say work hard enough to get a lucky break. You know, if you do that, you can also be famous. You know, you can be. And there's reality TV now and there's all of that stuff. There really wasn't when Twiggy and I were doing it. So yeah, we had wow, I say lucky. It's to be a local celebrity. It's pros and cons, let me tell you. When you have people following you in the supermarket to see what's in your shopping basket and you're tired, not so much fun. But people were generally lovely to us. So, you know, it was nice. We had it was just a really good time. I'm glad that I've had that in radio and I'm glad that I've got those memories because it's just a different landscape now.
Definitely.
And on the impact of local radio, I want to talk about this road diversion because you had a run-in with the council, let's say the local council, about a local road that residents weren't too happy about, let's say.
Yeah, it was just like the diversion was going to be in place for a long time. It was just not helpful to anybody in rush hour traffic. So we just got in touch with the council and said, what the hell is going on? One. Two, what can we do about it? And they changed the diversion slightly so it was better. And we called it the Jo and Twiggy diversion. And they did all the signs for us. I think to soften the blow, like we just were in a lovely position where if we went to our listeners and said, look, you are going to be stuck in traffic, but hey, it's the Jo and Twiggy diversion. That's fun. And we had people giving things out to queuing traffic and stuff during that time. People were just less aggy about it and less aggy with the council. And so it just worked hand in hand. And hey, what great marketing, because our name were on these signs throughout the whole diversion for God knows how long. Yeah, it was just great.
I like you need a blue plaque on there, like one of those like heritage signs. The Jo and Twiggy.
Yeah, I want a blue plaque. Twiggy and I would be happy to pull a curtain.
I could just imagine that now, just like next to a road, major A road, just like.
We would do it. Twiggy and I would do it.
That would actually be quite cool.
We'll get in touch.
I've not really heard about anything sort of like that, though. To have like a diversion named after yourselves, essentially.
We were just part of the culture of the time, and businesses wanted to be on board because people were listening to us. You know, we had great figures. We spoke on behalf of the people, and so if we told them something, you know, that they believed us, and we could get people on board with anything that might be a bit adverse and a bit like, oh, hang on. Like we had a whole tram system in Nottingham. We were there at the birth of the trams, and it was supposed to be a certain month it was going to be out. And of course, there were diversions while they were making all the tram lines and all that stuff. And we had a guy on from the council, and we just called him Tram Man, and he would come on and we would just play hell with him about how long this was going on. And he just became a real wonderful character on our show. And everybody forgot about the fact that the trams were going to be, I don't even know how long it was, even maybe a year after they said it was going to be. It was this crazy amount of time. But they just forgot about it because we had Tram Man on giving us fun updates, and we just turned it into a nicer thing. Instead of a moany old, oh, well, here we go again, councils have done this. That's just no good for anybody. It's no good for us. It's no good for them. It's, so yeah, we were just part of that culture where people would come on and be on our show to get the city on side. And yeah, it is hard to think how that can be recreated.
I think it would be difficult to recreate now, but it is quite cool to look back and sort of think about things like that. And also, wasn't there a couple of instances where people pretended to be you in clubs?
Yeah, I had this a lot. I had men ringing up the show because, again, we didn't have social media and Facebook and all of that. So they didn't really know what I looked like unless they'd seen the local paper or any of the marketing. So, yeah, I used to have men ringing up saying, oh, you gave me the wrong phone number when I met you last night, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'd be like, no, was not out last night. And yeah, people would pretend to be me. And there was a girl pretended to be me for many months to get into a nightclub for free and have a table, and her friends would get free drink brought to the table. And the reason I found this out was because the owner of the nightclub came into the radio station and was introduced to me, and he said, you're not Jo. I was like, oh, okay. I said, no, I am. And he said, well, who's the woman that's been coming in for months now? And we've given her free entry, free drink. She has a table. She says she's you. And I was like, I have no idea. I don't know who that is. But yeah, but obviously, I don't even know what happened after that. I should have gone, really, shouldn't I? And sat at her table, found out what was going on. But yeah, I mean, it's happened a lot. The stories about things I used to get up to at uni and school in Nottingham is crazy because I did not go to uni or school in Nottingham at all. But but people would go, oh, well, my husband said he went to school with you and you did this, this, and this. And I was like, I did not go to school here. Like I went to school in York. I was not. That's not me. And they'd go, are you sure? And I'd think, well, yeah, I know where I went to school. But yeah, because people, you can say anything. You could say anything and do anything because you were never going to get caught out, or you would rarely get caught out because there's no way of asking. We didn't have Instagram where they could just message me and quiz me about anything like they can now. So yeah, it was a funny old time, let me tell you.
Game's the game of things. Like if she's got that far and she's not been like cotton on or anything, I think she deserves it at that point.
Yeah. Well, he didn't. I remember him being absolutely livid that she'd done this to get free stuff off him. So I don't know what the end of that story is, but I'd quite like to.
I feel like we deserve an update now. It needs.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. It was so many years ago, though, Josh. It was so many years ago.
Could you imagine doing that now? I'm trying to think of somebody who you could even do that to.
It's just what everyone looks like now. Yeah. The guys on the door can Google it, while they're on the door. So you just can't get away with stuff like that unless you are an absolute spitting image of somebody, I suppose. But yeah, you can't do that nowadays. Spoil it for everyone. All the con men, con women, their lives are ruined.
I just couldn't imagine like going somewhere and going, my name is, let me think of someone local to me.
You'd be absolutely bricking it, wouldn't you, for the whole night, let alone months.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a bit of confidence once you've had a drink and you've got away with it once. Maybe your confidence levels are high. I don't know.
It's just mental.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I suppose we both of us grew up in the times of social media, internet. So if someone went, my name is, I don't know, Jo Russell, I'd go, no, it's not.
Yeah, and
that's not you.
Immediately do that. I remember going on holiday once though with a mate of mine, and we met a couple of lads on holiday of potential holiday romance type, and they had us believing that they were famous golfers. And we absolutely, like, golf's a sexy blooming sport. It certainly wasn't to me then, and it isn't now. But they had us believe they were famous golfers. And it wasn't till we got back home and then we could look it up. And absolutely, no, it was not them. They did not look anything like the people that they said they were. But you couldn't tell, you couldn't Google it back in the day.
I don't think I can think of a less sexy sport than golf. I don't think it's like when someone says
But I
sexy sport to me,
also-
golf doesn't come to mind.
But I wonder if it's because golfers are not as well known as footballers. They couldn't really get away with footballer because we might know who they were and what they looked like. So I think they went for a real safe golf option. And they were right to, because we had no idea what they were talking about.
It's just mental. I can't even imagine it. I'd be horrified going into a club saying I was someone else.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There are some people out there. There are people out there that will do it even now, I would imagine.
I'll just get a wig on and just like put on a horrendous accent.
What? I wish you good luck with that, because Google's free.
I'd like to see it happen though.
There's an idea. Let's send you to a club and pretend you're someone else. Someone really like niche.
Someone like from
Here's who you look like. I'll tell you who you look like.
right. Look at me.
Who's the Chelsea footballer?
Mason
Palmer. No,
Cole
I'm going
Palmer.
Palmer. Cole Palmer. I
Oh!
couldn't think of his first name. I think you could get away if you, Josh. This is what you do. You change your hair slightly because he has got. I think it's shorter in my head.
Google it.
He's in my
Yes.
fantasy football team, so I take an unhealthy interest in him. Shorter hair. I think facially you could get away with it.
I
Go
don't
for it.
know if I should take this as a
Enjoy.
compliment or not. I don't know.
It's an
It
okay.
is what it is. Yeah. Do that. Josh has just done the Cole Palmer football celebration. Beautiful. Do that. People will be like, oh, I think it's him. I don't know why he's doing that in Asda, but I think it's him.
That is a great content idea. That's happening whether you like it or not. I'm sorry.
I don't want to do this. I don't consent.
Right.
Ah.
So
Back on topic.
back on topic. After Trent, you went to Absolute.
I did,
Jeez.
yeah.
I didn't expect. I feel like it's such a switch up from Trent to Absolute. Did it feel like that?
Yeah, it really felt like it. I always wanted to go to London. I always wanted to try it. It was a real ballsy move, I think, at the time, because I was leaving a very safe, recognised show, with all the joy and comforts that I had, and being as known as we were in Nottingham. I was leaving all of that I'd worked so hard to build up to try my hand at London, and I wanted to do it so bad. Like, I wanted to do it from since I was 14. It was just, London was the thing for me. And yeah, when I got the opportunity to do it, I jumped at it and I loved every second of it. It didn't let me down, which was really important. I needed it to be as good as 14-year-old me thought it was going to be. And it was ace. It was really amazing. I had a really fun year there, because that's what happens in radio. You get year-on-year contracts. That's it. And then they tell you whether they're going to renew it or not. And yeah, I did a year there, and I don't regret a second of it. I loved it.
Because I suppose it's just quite a jump from local to national. It's just something. I mean, I don't know how you felt, if it was different or anything, but was it like going from local Trent FM to national Absolute?
I liked the fact that nobody knew who I was. I was getting to the stage in local where everybody knew who I was in Nottingham. And it just can be a bit overwhelming and a bit uncomfortable at times. And I went from that to nobody cared or knew who I was. And I thoroughly enjoyed it and just made a ton of new friends, and it was difficult. Like, it's a difficult transition because what my boss at the time, Clive Dickens, who was a huge player, he's in Australia now, but he was a huge player in UK radio at the time. He said, what you need to be, he said, you sound like you're a Trent FM presenter on Absolute, and we need you to sound like you're an Absolute radio presenter who used to work at Trent. So that was the job, and that was the transition. So yeah, it's a different beast for sure, but hey, you gotta do things that scare you. I believe in that every now and again, and yeah, I really loved it.
And I suppose you wouldn't get anyone pretending to be you in clubs or anything now.
Oh, no, because they were all cooler than me, better looking than me. Like, everyone in London has their own amazing style. I mean, I love London for that. It's just anything goes. And so, yeah, I was just like, I was not a standout, that's for sure. It's just normal, just a normal girl. And I loved it. Yeah, I liked the anonymity of it too. I never really wanted to be famous. I wanted to be really successful in radio, which I guess a little bit of fame comes hand in hand. But certainly when I got into radio, no one knew what you looked like. So it just wasn't the same. You weren't being videoed. You weren't on a webcam. You weren't doing any of that. So there was a real amazing, like, you can do all this amazing entertaining work, and then in my head you could still go home and nobody would know you. So I liked that. I liked that side of it.
I think it must have been a bit hard though to sort of leave Twiggy.
Yeah, it was. I'd been trying for a long time, and he knew I wanted London, and we tried to get to London with the radio group we were in ourselves, but they, quite rightly, probably looking back, we were just too local. We were too good locally for them to change that. So because and Twiggy was married with 2 kids, and so he wasn't. I didn't have a partner, so I could up sticks and do what I liked. So we had very different lifestyles. It was difficult, but he completely understood. Like, we were best friends, so he got it. It was scary. It was scary for him as well as it was for me, but he got it. Off I went, and yeah, he's still remained crazy successful and did all the stuff that he's done. And the only thing that was important to me was to make sure that we were still friends, because we'd achieved so much together for 2 people in local radio that I didn't want it to end between him and I badly. I still wanted to, and I still do look on those days like it was an amazing time. I mean, I still get people now going, "Oh, you're Joe from Joe and Twiggy," and I go, "Yes, Sparky now." "Oh, what? Sorry, what?" And like people still talk about Twiggy and I, and God, when did that end? 2008, maybe. I think 2008. So that was a long time ago, and we are still spoken about in Nottingham, and bits of Derby as well. So yeah, we definitely left our mark, that's for sure.
And I think it's important that you find the right person to be in a duo with, because if you don't have that like connection, then the listeners will obviously clock on, I suppose. And it's nice
Yeah,
that
I
you've
think
still got
so.
that.
I do think so. I think you can spot it. I mean, you can fake it to a degree, I would imagine, and sometimes you have to, because you're so tired that everyone gets on your nerves. And you know, I say that with the greatest love for Sparky, who I work with now, but I think we both get on each other's nerves at times. But we're crucially good friends, and I don't think you can do it those hours together if you're not. And I think you will be caught out. I think people buy into us a lot more because they know they're listening to friends, and they know there's a different level of banter when you're actually, I mean, banter's a horrible word, but there's just a different level of teasing when you're actually friends with somebody. There's no nastiness or bitterness that there could be if you didn't like each other. And people want to wake up, especially nowadays, because the world's so horrible. People want to wake up and smile. They want to wake up and have a laugh, and they want to do that with friends. And I think that is why radio is surviving because people are still getting that from live radio.
I'm glad that you have your off days as well, because with Kira, like we're really good friends, but sometimes I don't know.
Sometimes,
Hard.
yeah, it's sometimes we can get on each other's nerves to the point where we'll have an argument and then you sort it out and you move on. But
Just sit in silence.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
the
we
thing-
usually know.
Well, the thing that it is that women find it harder to move on. We very much, just a little life lesson for you, Josh. We very much like to hold a grudge and we don't forget. Whereas lads can have a massive blazing row and then 2 seconds later be like, oh, well, it's fine. Well, we cannot do that and we will not be doing that. And it's very hard for us. It is hormones and there's nothing we can do about it. So, Josh, you are correct. Just stay quiet.
Is this true, Kira? Is this true?
It's true, isn't it, Kira?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. Sorry.
But the thing is, I think if you at the very core of it, if you like each other, then it's fine. You're allowed to argue. You know, we're allowed to, Sparky and I, who I work with now, we are allowed to, and Twiggy was the same. We were allowed to get on each other's nerves, but because it's like a brother and sister almost, you are always going to go back and love them because, you know, it's not the end of the world, whatever you argue about. It never really is. And Twiggy and I could always, even if we did argue, we could always go and have a beer on an afternoon and be absolutely fine with each other.
And I think that's the most important thing, that you still...
Yes. I still
That
like
can
you.
still have- yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you, Kira. I really appreciate that.
So, after Absolute, you moved to the West Midlands to BRMB.
Yeah, I moved there, which was nice. After being in London for a year, I still wanted a big city, and Birmingham was definitely its own beast. So yeah, we were there for a while, and then BRMB changed to Free Radio. A different radio company came and changed that to Free Radio, and then we moved to Oldbury on that, which was just a different frequency for Free Radio. And then Sparky and I were asked to go to Gem Radio, which is where essentially where I am now, although the name has changed to Hits Radio. Jeez, I've been through it all, but it's the same radio station that Sparky and I are still at now. Yeah, so we had a real good old shuffle round.
I feel like this is the part which gets very exciting for me because the mention of Oldbury is like 10 minutes down from my house.
Clang.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm from the Black Country.
Oh my God, okay.
So I knew you were on BRMB, then it all went to Free. And then when I knew you were moving, I was very excited. And then I talked to my dad about you two when I was about, when did you move? I remember your first show, actually. I'll come to that in a minute.
Do not know if that's good or bad. Carry on.
I think I must have been 10. And I said to my dad, oh, you're getting a new breakfast show. It's Joe and Sparky. He goes, hang on. Didn't Joe used to be in a duo called Joe and Twiggy? And I went, what? So even though he's from the West Midlands, he was like, he knew about you. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
That is unusual though, because the crossover is not in local radio is not normally there. But yeah, that's amazing if he knew.
And then I remember, this is so specific and I don't know why, but I remember your first show, I'm hoping I get this right, was the 20th of July 2015. And I know that because I was on the way to Manchester Airport at the time to fly, and your first show was playing. And the whole time my dad was like, oh, I really like these two. They're really good.
Well, it's
And
really
that
hard
was
when
it.
you go to a new market as well. It's really hard because usually the people that you're replacing have not wanted to leave themselves. And even if they have, the listeners don't want them to go. So you jumping into someone else's shoes is you've got to grit your teeth and go, okay, it's just a week of them moaning and then it's all going to be fine. But but Oldbury, that the audience of the Black Country were so warm to us really quickly. We loved it there. We had a great time. We really had a good time there.
That makes me very happy. Like, that's
Yeah,
felt
they're lovely. They were just lovely people, but they were very good storytellers. So we had good stories on the radio with them. People can take the mickey out of themselves from the Black Country. Yeah. Oh God, it was. Sparky and I, we speak about it still. We loved that place.
That makes me feel.
Oh.
I don't know why. I think at the time as well, you were like a female figure to me on the radio, because my dad used to drop me off at school, and you two would be on, and just hear another female voice that was sort of broadcast in my area was very nice.
Oh, good. I hope so.
So
There's certainly many years ago there were not enough. There's loads of good role models now, female wise. So yeah, we are spoilt. But yeah, many years ago there were not many female voices on the radio. It's much harder to get into if you were a woman, because it was very much, well, we've got one woman, why do we want another? So so yeah, it was a real fight. But yeah, now it's a different ball game altogether.
Well, let's talk about that move to a different market, because obviously after Free Radio, you said you went to Gem, now Hits Radio East Midlands. How was it changing from a different side of the Midlands?
It was a tricky one for me, because I was coming back, because Sparky had never been here before, but I was coming back to a place where I'd been for a really long time, and Twiggy and I had a great time here. But I wasn't just coming back to Nottingham, like we were broadcasting to Derby and Leicester as well. So it was a really weird one, because a certain part of the audience might already know me from my Trent FM Twiggy days. And then the other lot had no idea. So it was a real tricky difference. We had to act like we were new, essentially, and that nobody knew who we were. We had to start again. But we loved it, because it was a much bigger market in terms of career progression. It was a much bigger market than Oldbury, so it felt like it was the right thing to do. And Sparky met his wife and has got 2 kids now, so it was definitely the right thing for him to do, for sure. Whereas I had a boyfriend from Birmingham, and I've had to drag him this way. But yeah, it's difficult starting in a new market, because especially nowadays, you don't often get the chance to make an impact. When I was first starting out in radio, they'd give you 2 years before the bosses would even look at your ratings. Now you get like 1 second, and it's a bit like football management. Prove yourself. Oh, well, I've only just started. Go on, prove yourself. It is hard, because people don't like change. However, nobody's indispensable. Even the big players in radio, they're not. Radio stations will, if they're playing the right music, you can really keep them there with your entertainment and your personality. But they also love the music. So, I don't want to talk myself out of the job, but they will stick around. I think they'll stick around for other things. There's always like outcry when radio presenters leave a job. That is just for a week though, and then people go, oh well, I can't be bothered to retune my car radio. I don't know how it works, so I'll stick here. And they soon get used to you as the newbie. And I just think radio listeners are warm in the main. God, not all of them, of course, but in the main, they're warm, lovely people who want you to be their friend. So they want a friendship out of you. So they are happy to welcome you. And yeah, we've had good times going to new markets. It's fun to start again sometimes.
How is working with Sparky different to working with Twiggy?
Well, Twiggy is older. So Sparky, I was essentially trading Twiggy in for a younger model. So it's just different. They're just different people. They're very different people. Sparky, when I first met him, he was, going out. He was a lad about town, essentially. So it was just it's a different dynamic, as I think you get with any of your friends. It's just a dynamic that you have to get used to very quickly. And I mean, Sparky essentially was interviewed for the job to come and work on the show with me. We did it in a pub, and we had a drink. And I, for this industry, I thoroughly think it's the right thing to do, because you just, once you've had a drink, not like we weren't blind drunk, but once you've had a drink, you just get on with somebody better. You know them, you can tease them more, you just know whether you're going to have that relationship with them. And so we knew from that first time, and then we went and, a few weeks later we did a demo together, and we just knew we were going to get on. I still have the same relationship with Twiggy that I had before. I don't see him as often because we're both very busy. But we still do, because he works on the BBC now, so he still gets people saying, "Oh, how's Joe?" And I still get, "Oh, how's Twiggy?" So we are still, part of each other's lives, and I absolutely love him. But it's just, I guess it's just a different dynamic, because they're different ages, different people, different, things that they like in life. And so, yeah, if you just think about having a different night out with different sections of your friends, I think it's the same thing.
Nice little analogy there.
It is. That's
Yeah.
got me thinking now.
Oh God, I'm scared.
No, is it like how that is a really good analogy, because I'm thinking a night out with you is different to a night out with my boyfriend, to a night out with other
Exactly.
friend groups.
Exactly. And some of those friend groups you never want to meet, but even know that you're in both of them, that that doesn't change as you get older. Same thing. But yeah, I think that's what it is. It doesn't. One of them is not better than the other for certain, but they just have different qualities, and I have a different friendship with both of them, so that suits me fine.
I didn't actually, when I first heard you, I had no idea that you'd had a different sort of radio partner until my dad told me, because you and Sparky just sound so good together.
Yeah, well, that's really nice to hear, especially from somebody who knew Twiggy and I. Yeah, it's nice to hear, because poor Sparky, he's the one that gets it in the neck all the time, especially when we moved from West Midlands to East. And he suddenly, and like his wife now, but met her and was his girlfriend at the time, she used to listen to Twiggy and I when she was going to school. So she would be like, "Oh my God, you don't work with Joe from Joe and Twiggy." So she was, and he was like, "What are you talking about? It's just Joe, it's fine." And then he's come here, and he's the one, when we go out and they're talking to me about Twiggy, he has to just stand there, and he has a lot to put up with, which is none of it his fault. So to shake that off in the market where Twiggy and I worked together, he's done a really good job, really. And people, old Twiggy fans have warmed to Sparky quite quickly. And I think it's because we just get on so well, and it's just a laugh, and we can tell each other off, and I've got that relationship, but it's just a laugh. That's all we want. We want to go to work and have a laugh, and that's what we do. So I'm glad it comes across that way.
That's the best part of it. Just as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Exactly. And I think if we can do as good of a job as you and Sparky are doing, then that we'd be very satisfied and very happy.
I'd say, well, why not? And why not, indeed?
Should we ask the final question that we asked everyone?
Yes. Do you want to ask it?
Shall I ask it? If you could go back to your younger self and give one piece of advice, what would it be?
It's really tricky, because I think I would say back yourself and don't give up is a really good bit of advice. But I think that's what I did. Because I thought, I knew I wanted to be in radio from 14, and I didn't get into radio till I was 24. So I had many years of rejection letters, and I just knew I could do it. I really, really knew. And I think that's what I would say. Having said that, I think that is also how I acted. I think that's what I did. I backed myself and forced myself into the industry, but it took a long time. Like, it ain't easy.
Well, Jo Russell, you have been a gem, if you excuse the pun, to speak to. Had to put it in there. Clang. Thank you very much for coming on My Career So Far.
Thank you so much, guys. What a joy. Thank you, and good luck with yours.